Good morning. The April 25th, 2023 meeting.
Recording in progress.
The April 25th, 2023 meeting of the Charter Authorizing Panel is called to order. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Arkansas Department of Education auditorium and ask that you please silence all of your electronic devices. We are happy to see all of you this morning. We will facilitate a fair and responsible hearing, and I'm going to ask that if you come to the microphone, that you please get to the microphone, state your name and title for the record, and continue to speak clearly into the microphone for the benefit of the panel, the viewing audience, and for the recording of this meeting. The entire meeting is being live streamed and recorded, and a transcript and a video of the meeting will be posted on the Division of Elementary and Secondary Education website. So we appreciate all of you being here. And panel members, good morning. If you'll look at our consent agenda, we have 3 items: our minutes from our February meeting, financial documents that had been requested, and if you have questions or conversation, or if you're ready for a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Okay.
I second.
I have a motion by Mr. Baldwin and a second by Ms. Saraceni to approve the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda approved. All right, that takes us to our action agenda, and Ms. Wagner.
Good morning, Chastity Wagner with Desi Legal. The first thing on our action agenda is the waiver cleanup. So what it was is these charters, there's one adult education charter, the Excel Center, and then it's Exalt Academy, Hope Academy, and Premier High Schools of North Little Rock. All of them have the statute and the rule, but they didn't have the accompanying standard to go with it, so they're flagging in the system, and it's just a clerical error that we needed to correct. But I brought it to you guys because we have to have an action. We've done this waiver cleanup before. This is just catching some more that need to be cleaned up. So,
Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Wagner? I'll accept a motion.
Second.
I have a motion from Dr. Wright McMurray and a second from Ms. Saraceni to approve the waiver cleanup as presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion is approved. Next action item, Mr. Coy, you're recognized.
Thomas Coy, Desi Charter Office. I'm here to present a request by Fort Smith Virtual Academy. They are requesting to change grade levels. Currently serve grades K through 8, and I believe they're wanting to start serving grades K-12 with an enrollment cap of 500. I see Dr. Hall on Zoom, and other representatives from Fort Smith School District. So if you all have questions for the folks from Fort Smith, I'm sure they're happy to entertain any of your questions.
Thank you. Dr. Hall?
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any guidance you'd like to provide or a rationale?
The main rationale is that what we have found with the K-8 virtual charter is that we have a very coordinated system now with dedicated teachers, seamless transitions from that 5th to 6th, elementary to middle school. We have, basically it's just a very coordinated effort with everyone on the same page. Our high schools are still running their virtual, using the digital learning waivers, and it's a little disjointed. It's extra work for the high schools running an extra program. And so what we would like to do is fold them in with us so that we have a seamless K-12 program.
Okay.
hi, Dr. Hall. We needed to swear everybody in.
Oh.
That's fine.
Gosh.
That's okay.
You think I had never done this before? All right, Dr. Hall, if you'll raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I need you to affirm, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. All right, now back to where we were. So changing grades from K-8 to K-12 for the consistency, and I believe you also had a waiver for CPR instruction?
Since we are primarily virtual, we were asking for the waiver for the physical, because we don't have the students on campus for that piece.
So do your students come in at all?
Well, with K-8, they come in occasionally. Like today, we're doing ACPS fire testing this week, so we do have them in for that.
Okay. Ms. Wagner, do you have any legal concerns?
No, I just wanted to note, since this is only gonna be for her virtual kids, and as Dr. Hall has expressed, if kids want to come in and take these classes on campus, they can. As long as it's for virtual, then I have no legal concerns.
Any questions for Dr. Hall?
I have just one question.
Ms. Rottenberg?
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for providing the supporting documentation. I just had a couple of questions. I was looking at the results from your survey.
You gotta get straight on.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay, good. I was looking at the results from your survey and just was curious, the two areas that fell below the mean of 3.5, did you guys have any discussion on how you were going to address that going forward in the future? I think the one was teacher team collaborative groups, that fell below. And then also students, parents, and community feeling like they had an opportunity to be engaged, fell below.
I apologize, but I'm having a real hard time understanding her microphone. It's cutting in and out.
I think, Dr. Hall, she's asking about the HRS survey data.
Yes,
That
okay.
3.5 or below. I think she wants you to address those, if I heard her correctly.
Thank
Okay,
you. Yes,
thank
that's
you.
correct. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Well, the one was actually by the administrator, which is me, so that was getting it a 3 from my viewpoint. With I believe that was in the communication piece, and that is something that we are working on this year. We're taking that into account. And again, it's on providing formal ways for them to provide input. We have a lot of informal ways, so that's what we are looking to address is a better formal way. We're looking at some things like having a permanent posted link with a feedback, question, comment type thing within our platform. And then, of course, we're trying to get some more formalized. We are working on formalizing a parent-teacher organization. We've been working on that throughout the year, and it was apparently a little more complicated than we anticipated. But
Any other questions? Ms. Saracen? Mr. Baldwin, any questions?
I just had one question, and I'm sure you have explained this in here, I just couldn't find it. I'm looking at your budget projections, and I guess if you could explain to us the reduction in budget for the 9 through 12 curriculum. If I'm reading this right, it shows $164,000 reduction, and I was just curious about that.
yeah, we would actually save money with this process. Currently, our 9 through 12, we are using Pearson's virtual school, and we are using their teachers as well. So we are paying quite a bit of money for the instruction piece that goes along with the curriculum. What we are looking at for next year, if we fold this in together, would be, well, first we're using Virtual Arkansas for the 9-12, but only using their curriculum for the 4 cores, math, English, science, social studies, and using our own teachers for those subject areas. Do some reconfiguring and then add a couple of high school certified teachers. And then we would use their teachers for the electives, and our rationale for that for the high school is that we don't want to limit it, and it's feasible to try to offer every single elective that we could have, be able to have teachers doing that. It would just be too much of a strain for the amount of students and teachers. So, but the net gain on that we would save by taking on the curriculum ourselves and using our local teachers is where we end up with all it would actually cost just a little bit less money instead of a little bit more.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Hall, are your teachers on site with you? What is your work situation for teachers?
Well, currently, my secretary and the Fed teacher and the K-5 teachers are all located at one site, and my 4, 6, 8 teachers are located at another site, both in Fort Smith on campuses. We are looking at a permanent site. We've got to do a little bit of renovation and move so that we can have all of us in one space for next year.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion? All right. I'll accept a motion
So moved.
to approve.
Approve.
Second.
I have a motion by Ms. Saraceni and a second by Dr. Wright McMurray to approve the amendment request for Fort Smith Virtual Academy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is approved. Ms. Newton is trying to get on. Can someone reach out to her and help her get to the Zoom link? Okay. Dr. Hall, thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much.
And our office will be reaching out to help you get your LEA change request submitted before June 1.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Yes.
Ms. Wagner, do you want to present the next item? Before we move on, do we need to go into our voting sheets and vote for Fort Smith Virtual? Okay, let's do that real quickly. So, Mr. Baldwin, you need to enter something about your vote on there. Okay.
Yep. I don't know why.
Want me to clean that for you?
That's not what I thought.
Yeah.
I guess it might look like I did on the right one.
Fort Smith Virtual.
I was putting it on my house.
Dr. Wright McMurray, if you would like to enter your comments into the record?
I voted for the request. I said I support the request to amend the charter. This action will allow for more efficient administration and support of their students.
Mr. Baldwin?
I voted to approve. The request made a lot of sense to me. I support it.
Ms. Saraceni?
I support the amendment request to allow for K-12.
Okay. And I also voted for the amendment request because it's very clear, concise, and in the best interest of students. So thank you very much. All right, let's move on to our next item.
Okay. Before we delve directly into the next item, I didn't go over the operating procedures for our hearings, and I should have done that, so that was my bad. But the chair will swear everybody except their attorneys who are testifying in. The applicant will get 20 minutes to present their amendment request. We have received no opposition to any of these amendment requests, and then the panel gets to ask their questions, and then you take your vote. So that's our operating procedures. Next up is Mountainburg Middle School Brain Academy's amendment request. Dr. Atwell is here to present for Mountainburg School District. Mountainburg is asking to change their grade levels from they were serving grades 5-8. Now they wish to serve just grades 6-8. So they're gonna move 5 back to their elementary school. So Ms. Atwell will take it over.
Good morning, Dr. Atwell. If you'll raise your right hand, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you have 20 minutes to present or to set up your amendments.
All right, thank you. We request approval to reconfigure. Our district serves 3 schools with grade spans pre-K through 4, 5 through 8, and 9 through 12. And we would like to reconfigure to keep 5th grade at elementary an additional year. We feel that the 5th graders have more in common with their peer group at the lower grade levels than they do with upper grade level students. This move will allow us to best meet their developmental needs, to increase the amount of time that they have for literacy and math instruction, and minimize class changes, different instructors. We want to have a transition model where a student in K through 4 is in a single classroom. When they move to 5th grade, they start working with a 2-man team, and then they move up to the 6th grade middle school where they have multiple classes and schedule changes. This reconfiguration will allow us to better meet their needs with intervention and extension support with our staffing, and it helps us recognize much efficiency with staffing. This request was approved at my school board last night, and we're pending your approval today and then state board approval.
All right, thank you. Any questions, Dr. Wright-McMurray?
No, I guess my only, just want to have a little bit more detail on like the steps that you guys took. I know you said that you feel like that's going to be your best outcome for your students if you do keep them at the lower level.
Mm-hmm.
But do you mind just sharing like the process that you and your team went through to come to that decision
Okay.
on how that's going to work?
We operate as a professional learning community, and so I meet on a weekly basis with my district guiding coalition. That's the building principals, the instructional facilitators, curriculum people. And as we review and we look at our data, we review our process, our progress, our district goals. We recognize a need for intervention and support and steps that we can take to facilitate improvement in literacy and math instruction, in character development and discipline. And so as part of our problem solving, and also from the fiscal aspect, as I look at our budget, I look at staffing, look at shortages, efficiency, what we can do, we just recognize the need. And so I started talking with the principals. We met with the teachers. We've had team meetings with the grade levels of teachers that will be impacted. We've had parent support and community support, board support for the motion. And so it's just it's a cumulative result of our continual improvement process.
Thank you for the additional details.
Ms. Saraceni, any questions?
So not only student needs, but also staffing concerns, this addresses that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mr. Baldwin?
No questions.
Hearing no additional questions, I'll accept a motion.
I move approval.
Second.
I have a motion by Dr. Wright-McMurray and a second by Ms. Saraceni to approve the amendment request for Mountainburg Middle School Brain Academy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes.
Thank you.
If you'll give us a quick second, we'll fill out our forms. I voted for the amendment, moving the students, the fifth grade students to the elementary based on the data. Makes sense to me. Ms. Saraceni?
I support the amendment request for reconfiguration, which will allow the district to meet the needs of the students as well as address staffing needs.
Dr. Wright McMurray?
I support the amendment request. The district has implemented a well-thought-out and collaborative plan to identify needs and implement strategies to improve outcomes for their students. The amendment to their charter will improve the educational experience for their fifth grade students.
Excellent. Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, I also support the request. I think this is a thoughtful and student-focused decision.
Thank you, Dr. Atwell. All right. Action item number 4, please. Feather Lynn, you are recognized.
My name is Feather Lynn. I am with the Standards and Systems Support Unit. Arkansas Military First Responders is requesting to transfer the charter from American Quality Schools to Arkansas Military and First Responders Academy, a local 501c3 nonprofit organization. They need to also rescind their waiver of Arkansas Annotated Code 617-2403, and Dr. Durand is here today to answer questions.
Dr. Duran? If you will raise your right hand, please.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I know you have a presentation.
Well, was just to keep me on track more than anything else.
Okay. All right. And if you will state your name and title into the record, then you'll have 20 minutes.
I'm Kevin Durand. I'm the Chief Academic Officer for the Arkansas Military and First Responders Academy. And I'll be presenting here shortly. I just wanted to also extend the apologies of Lieutenant Colonel Smedley, who is currently at Quantico finishing up his commander's course, and so was not able to be with us today. Some important milestones, just sort of to set the scene. Earlier this spring, we received the approval from the U.S. Marine Corps for a junior ROTC program for the entirety of our students, and so that was a big stepping stone in completing the parts of our charter that had been presented to the charter authorizing panel before and had been approved. Phase 1 construction, just as a matter of update, is on schedule. We had the meeting last Tuesday, and it's on schedule for July 6th, so it's always nice to have a little bit of float in terms of getting the building ready. We have received our 501c3 status, and so having met those criteria in terms of the agreement that we had with American Quality Schools, we've now come to ask for the transfer of the charter from American Quality Schools to the Arkansas Military and First Responders Academy, now that we are the local holding the 501c3. And then we'll opening day. I'm still in a baseball mode, sorry. But school will begin on August 16th, this fall. The first is the transfer charter request, obviously from AQS, and then the second part of the amendment is the rescission of the waiver concerning the Arkansas teacher minimum salary contingent on Learns Act participation and those sorts of things. So I know there are lots of documents before you, so I'd be happy to take any questions that you might happen to have.
Dr. Duran, and your location will be
10710 I-30, just south of the baseline overpass and just north of the 430 interchange.
And are you going to be in the South City Church?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then you will be off in a section that it looked huge online. So are you off into like a section of the church where the religious items will be removed?
Sure. So we're completely restructuring the church. The congregation of South City is in the process of moving.
Okay.
And so we actually have a lease agreement with them such that they are meeting one Sunday a month and then one Wednesday a month during the year until next June, so June of '24. as they're in the process of making their transition to another location.
Okay, perfect. All right. Dr. Wright McMurray, questions?
Yes, I just wanted to, excuse me, a little bit of clarity on your leadership plan.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
I noted that in the memo that you submitted, it was contingent upon one of your leaders, their outcomes of the race in Chicago for mayor, and so that it was dependent upon how they did there, how they
Right.
were going to be able to lead your organization, and so just wanted to get a sense of, now that we know the outcome of that,
Sure.
is he going to be a part of that leadership? And then also,
Okay, no problem.
yeah, it also mentioned that there is a younger successor, but it doesn't name that person. So I was just wondering, what are the plans for leadership there?
So, in the transition to the Arkansas Military First Responders Academy to the board will be in the position of overseeing the operations of the charter. Mr. Paul Vallis, who was part of the group that initially came before the board and made the pitch for AMFRA, was, as you know, was running for mayor of Chicago and came second.
Yeah.
His involvement with us has mainly been as an advisor, and has been a resource that we could go and say, you know, we're working on a little bit of recruitment. What sort of advice can you give us with regard to that? He did sort of help us with the presentation with the Marine Corps at Quantico, so that we could establish the Marine Corps JROTC program. And while he is the CEO and in the charter itself, he is stepping back and leaving the board as it is constituted as it is currently constituted as the organization that will be directly in charge of AMFRA. And so Ms. Sharman Moody is our president of the board, and she'll be leading the board, and then the board will be directly, Lieutenant Colonel Smedley, myself, and the rest of the members of the AMFRA team will be directly responsible to the board.
And
You had a second one, I missed it. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
and then the second was in I think it's item 3, there's mention of a younger successor. Has that person been named? Have you identified who that's going to be working with, it looks like, Dr. Hall and Mr. Vallis?
So Mr. Hall is no longer part of the organization due to some very serious health concerns. He is no longer part of the group, and I believe that reference is to Lieutenant Colonel Smedley, who was brought on in November as the commandant, and then I came on in I guess February 6th as the chief academic officer. Thank you.
Ms. Saraceni?
I just want to clarify, understand, you're anticipating 140?
Between 140 and 160, yes, ma'am. We did budgeting on 140. We're kind of looking at 160.
Okay. And so you feel that you have sufficient staffing needs to meet
Yes, ma'am.
that number? Okay.
Mr. Baldwin?
So my questions are kind of financial,
Okay.
and I guess I'm thinking back to when we visited before.
Sure.
And American Quality Schools Corporation, I internalized that as providing support, both technical expertise, knowledge expertise, and also potentially financial expertise if needed. And that may not have been true, but that's how I thought about it. So my question is, with the transfer of the charter to the Arkansas Military First Responders Academy, explain to us, is there any decrease in the level of financial support from the original organization, or I guess probably they're stepping away?
Right.
So maybe talk to us about the what type of financial support you have in the new nonprofit, and then I've got a separate question on the budget that you
Sure. So American Quality Schools did the initial outlay in terms of the costs required to get the charter off the ground in terms of making the proposals and the like initially. But we're not actually receiving any funding from American Quality Schools. And so we have a CSP grant that is covering not the implementation, the planning period. And then we have a CSP grant that's also going into the implementation period for this first year. Also, the South City Church, as part of the lease that they signed with us, well, initially with KLS, is providing $100,000 into our operating as part of that agreement. And so that funding is the place where, plus the planning funds, a place where we're drawing, and APSRC is handling the backside of the house in terms of the finances piece, because one, they're experts and I'm not. And so that's the place where funding is at the moment. And in terms of budgeting, we put the budget together in such a fashion that for example, at 140 students, maybe even a little less than that, the numbers work out such that we end up with a small surplus at the end of the first year, and then surpluses provided we keep our student body at the spot that we're
I don't see me on there
projecting.
either. I don't see, okay, so I got to start the video.
I hope I'm not the only one here to
But
Just
my,
here
it says start video, but it, we'll
Ms.
start book here.
Newton, Ms. Newton, we can hear you.
On the camera.
There she is.
Oh, there. Oh, there I am. There I was. Here I am. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Newton, we're right in the middle of Arkansas Military First Responders.
Okay.
So the change in the chartering organization doesn't
No,
affect
it's
the finances?
no, sir.
Looking at your budget, there's a line item called foundation funding, $1,078,000. Is that a single foundation?
So that's the foundation funding from the state. So the
I can't hear anything he's saying.
I'm sorry, that's the per student funding. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Newton, what did you say?
I couldn't hear anything he was saying, so.
Sure, speaking directly into the
Okay.
microphone, thank you. Any other questions, Mr. Baldwin?
No.
So one of the things that, I know the charter office is, going to need to stay in touch directly, with someone. Who in your organization is the direct contact? Is it going to be you?
Yes, ma'am.
That the charter office can reach out to and
Yes, ma'am.
get quick responses? Okay. All right. Any other questions for Arkansas Military? Ms. Newton, do you have any questions for Arkansas Military First Responders?
No.
All right. Then, hearing none, you're also, so we're changing the 501c3, and then, you're rescinding the waiver.
Yes, ma'am.
Here comes Shasta.
Hi. So this rescission of the waivers to comply with the LEARNS Act, so I have no legal concerns about this.
Okay. Just make sure, I had to check all my flags, I've got flagged here. And then, you're maintaining your, I think the question we had in the charter office was, you had originally said you were going to be a 9-12 and that you would start with grade 9, but then you move forward a year. So are you starting this year with grade 9 or grade 9 and 10?
Grades 9 and 10. Yes, ma'am.
9 and 10, okay. So, our office will reach out to make sure that you have the proper LEA change request.
Sure.
So that we get you off to a good start.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, I'll accept a motion.
So moved.
Second.
So I have a motion from Dr. Wright McMurray and a second from Mr. Baldwin to approve the Arkansas Military First Responders Amendment requests. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Amendment is approved.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. If you'll put your notes in, please. I voted for the amendment. We're excited to get this school open. They will be approximately 140 students in grades 9 through 10. Ms. Saraceni?
I support the amendment request to turn over the charter to a local nonprofit organization. Looking forward to seeing it start this fall.
Dr. Wright McMurray?
I support the amendment request. The transfer will allow for more effective
I can get back in
implementation
some.
and operation of the charter school.
Thank you. Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, I voted to support the amendment request. It seems like a reasonable request and appears appropriate.
Ms. Newton?
I can hear only you, Ms. Kaufman. I can't hear anyone else. And I got in on the very end of it, but I think it's a necessary change for the better. But I'm not hearing anyone. I can hear mumbling, but I can hear only you speak clearly.
All right, guys, step it up. Right into that microphone. Thank you, Ms. Newton. Thank you. We look forward to getting this charter open and coming to visit. All right, our next agenda item. Ms. Summons?
Good morning, Dory Summons, Public School Charter Director. Responsive Education Solutions is requesting to transfer the Arkansas charter schools granted to the Texas-based Responsive Education Solutions to the Responsive Ed Arkansas. The request would apply to the following schools: the Founders Classical Academies of Arkansas, Premier High Schools of Arkansas, Premier High School Springdale, Premier High School of North Little Rock. They're also put in a request to rescind the waiver of Arkansas Annotated Code 617-2403. We also have Mr. James Taylor, who is the Chief Financial Officer and Chief Technology Officer, here to present along with his team from Responsibility.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, if you and anyone on your team that may speak, if you will stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. If you'll get very close to that microphone so Ms. Newton can hear you.
That works. I did have a presentation that we provided. Is that
Dan?
available?
That's Lighthouse.
That's Lighthouse, yes.
Responsive.
Be for responsive ed.
I'm sorry, Ms. Kaufman, he's speaking, I can't hear a word. I can hear you clearly, others muddled, but I may have to disconnect. I've tried the phone and that doesn't work. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
That's all right. We're trying to find the presentation.
Okay. Okay.
There we go.
That looks familiar. Thank you.
And do you have the clicker? James, check it, make sure it's on the side. Okay.
trying to click, and I am not getting. Okay. I want to thank you all very much for allowing us to be here today. We are very excited about some of the changes that have been happening within the Responsive Education Solutions organization, and part of that is what we are presenting to you here today. I wanted to just present the team that we have. I am James Taylor. I am the CFO and Chief Technology Officer for Responsive Education Solutions. Rhonda Bradford is the Superintendent of Schools for our charters here in Arkansas. Susan Provenza is the State Director of our Founders Classical Academy Schools. Dennis Felton is our State Director for Premier High Schools and Virtual Learning. Katie Stevens is our Executive Director of Finance. Curtis Shack, our Executive Director of Data and Systems Management. And then Mr. Duvall and Ms. Pearson are not here today, but they oversee the CTE and our special programs, respectively. Next. We are seeking an amendment to move the charters that are currently assigned to the Responsive Ed Texas organization over to a new organization, Responsive Ed Arkansas, that would be dedicated to operating our Responsive Ed Arkansas charter schools. As part of this process, we expect and would look for the retention of the academic accountability, the fiscal assets, all responsibilities associated with those, contractual relationships, organizational leadership, and obviously the respective charters to move with this amendment request. Through this process, we expect as little to change as possible. The charters affected by the amendment are listed in this slide, which include the Founders Classical Academies of Arkansas, the Premier High Schools of Arkansas, the Premier High School of North Little Rock, and the Premier High School of Springdale. The purpose of this move is to establish Responsive Ed Arkansas as an organization dedicated solely to the operation of Arkansas charter schools, helping facilitate the ability for us as an organization to better align the purposes of our nonprofit corporation with the success of our Arkansas schools and students, and ultimately serve more students here in Arkansas. Just as a little history, Responsive Education Solutions was awarded 3 charters in 2012. We opened 3 schools, and over the course of the time until today, in 10 years, we have currently 10 schools open and operating in the state of Arkansas. In 2022, Responsive Education Solutions was renamed to Responsive Ed Texas in anticipation of this restructure. And in 2023, we established the organization Responsive Ed Arkansas. So our request today is to align the interests of our Arkansas schools under this Responsive Ed Arkansas umbrella. Responsive Education Solutions has been going through some changes over the last couple of years. We have established a national organization, which is now named Responsive Education Solutions. We have established centers of competency within our larger organization group of organizations, which include Blue Learning, which is a charter management organization, Bright Thinker, where we develop and manage our proprietary curriculum that we use in our schools, as well as deliver virtual or online educational services. And then, of course, our charter holders, our charter schools themselves. They're currently under Responsive Ed Texas. Once we make this change, if you approve, the organization would change to be structured as is displayed here, with Responsive Ed Arkansas separate from Responsive Ed Texas. Our schools under Responsive Ed Arkansas would be as is indicated here. I'm not going to run through every single number, but these are all of our charters and associated campuses with those charters. As part of the transition, the board and executive oversight will remain the same. The Arkansas leadership will remain the same. There is no financial impact, there's no fiscal impact to this restructuring, as all of the assets, everything that is associated with the reporting and maintenance of our financial records and assets will remain with the new organization. School operations, educational programs, and personnel will remain the same. Contractual relationships, including with the charter management organization, would remain the same. So the question is, what would change? Responsive Ed Arkansas will employ the superintendent, the staff, school administrators, teachers, support staff, and exclusively support the Arkansas charter schools. Over the next 2 years, we will be purposefully evaluating and making necessary changes to focus and better serve our Arkansas schools. I want to thank you for the opportunity and request that you grant our amendment related to the transfer of our charters to this new organization. Now, we also have the second amendment, which relates to rescinding our waiver for the minimum salary schedule for teachers. So that is also part of this request here today. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Questions, Ms. Rotman Murray?
Thank you for your presentation and sharing the information on your rationale for the change. One question that I did have, and is just for my clarification, I was looking at your projection for next year and looking at the Blue Learning reimbursement. It looks like it wasn't charged to any other school other than the Founders Classical. Am I reading that correctly, or just trying to get an understanding of why that looks like that?
It is charged to all of the schools, but because we have multiple charters, we pass it through the one organization when we do the reimbursement.
Okay.
So those individuals are covered as costs under the Founders Classical, and then Blue Learning reimburses directly to that one organization.
Ms. Saraceni?
Thank you for your presentation, and I like seeing that you're rescinding the waiver for teacher salary, that you are going to raise that. So thank you for thinking of our teachers.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, when I started reading this, I thought you guys were going to change some of the governance structures, and I anticipated that was because of future growth in Arkansas, Texas, and maybe elsewhere. And so when you kept everything essentially the same as what you were saying, I was a little bit surprised. So, and maybe it's just I don't understand. So the executive leadership and the board of directors is still with the Texas entity, and that's a question.
Hey, Bertha.
So the board is with the Arkansas entity, but it is currently the same board as the Texas entity. Over the next 2 years, we will be looking specifically at that to make some modifications.
So you're gonna bring in some Arkansas-based.
Yes, we are.
Okay, that answers my question. Yeah, thank you.
Ms. Newton, do you have any questions?
I don't.
Right.
I don't. I'm sorry. I don't. It's not.
So, Ms. Newton, I think what I heard you say was you did not have any questions? All right, moving forward, if there are no additional questions, I'll accept a motion.
I make a motion to approve
Second.
as requested.
I have a motion from Mr. Baldwin and a second from Ms. Saraceni to approve the amendment request for Responsive Ed Solutions. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you.
Amen.
Give us just a second.
Thank you very much.
Shall I leave the meeting? No, we'll get off here.
Okay, I voted for the amendment. I think it's very clear, and not convoluted at all, so I'm excited about it. Ms. Saraceni?
I also support the amendment request.
Can you hear me now, Ms. Kaufman?
Yes, Ms. Newton.
I struggle with the video with Ms. Saraceni just talking. I can hear you and you alone clearly, so.
I'm taking all the brownie
Okay.
points today. Thank you, Ms. Newton.
I'm gonna have to abstain. I guess I might as well get off. I don't know because I'm not able to communicate or, hear the back and forth.
Okay. Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, I supported the amendment request. The new structure appears reasonable and appropriate.
Okay. And Ms. Newton, did you have a vote or did you want to abstain?
I want to abstain.
All right, motion passes. Thank you so much. Do y'all need to take a quick break before we do our last item? Want to do that? Maybe we can get some of the sound effects fixed. All right. Ms. Newton, we're going to take a quick break and let the charter team reach out and see if we can figure out what the sound problem
Okay,
is.
yeah, because I tried the phone, Ms. Summons sent me the phone connection, and that was actually worse than the computer, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay, well, they'll get on the phone with you and see if we can resolve it.
Okay, great, thank you.
Recording stop.
just getting several of those. So,
They're gonna get the funding, they have to resend it, don't they?
yeah, and he's gotta do it
Prior to,
prior
probably.
to, just so we can get it out. Luann, is Tripp here? I need him to stay afterwards.
Recording in progress.
Ms. Summons? If you will present our last item, please.
Doris Summers, District Charter Director.
Real close to the microphone.
Doris Summers, District Charter Director. Arkansas Lighthouse Charter School is requesting a district name change to Arkansas Lighthouse Charter Schools Incorporated to operate all of the Jacksonville Lighthouse Charter School campuses, and request that the enrollment cap of 1,019 be incrementally met over the course of the next 5 years. Amend the traditional calendar of 178 days to a 12-month year-round calendar beginning of the school year of 23-24, and rescind its waiver of Arkansas Annotated Code 617-2403. We have LaShonda Noel, who is the superintendent here, as well as her team for questions.
Ms. Wagner, we need you, please, before we get started.
Again, Ms. Kaufman, this is Toyce, of course, and I've used two different, my laptop and my desktop, and I didn't hear a word Ms. Summers said. I hear everything that you say, and I don't know. I would think it was if I were at my home office, I would think it's me, but I'm here with the technical assistance that I need, but like I say, on two different computers, I'm unable to.
Let's try Ms. Wagner and see if you can hear her.
Can you hear me, Ms. Newton?
No, I can barely hear.
I guess they're on.
Dean's gonna work on the microphones for a minute.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Mr. Solve a Problem has solved the problem.
That's hopeful.
Thank you, Dan. All right, Ms. Wagner,
Thank you.
in this amendment request is a request to change their school calendar. Has that typically been a charter panel decision or a local board decision?
No, that's more a local board decision. I think she just brought it because she originally thought, which Ms. Noel is here, so she can speak to this as well. But I think she thought she had to get a waiver of that, and she doesn't. So,
Okay.
because she's gonna comply with the 12-month calendar. So that's a policy decision. She's just gonna update, I think, the panel of that.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right, Ms. Noel, if you and your team will stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? All right, and I believe you have a presentation, a slide.
I do, yes, I do.
Okay. All right, if you will state your name and title for the record, then we'll begin and speak close to that microphone so that Ms. Newton may hear you.
Good morning. Ms. Newton, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Wonderful. I am LaShonda Noel. I serve as CEO and Superintendent for Arkansas Lighthouse Charter Schools. We are here this morning to officially request to change the name of the charter district from Arkansas Lighthouse Academies to Arkansas Lighthouse Charter Schools. to request the incremental enrollment cap, and to request the waiver on the teacher salary schedule. So as it relates to the name change, last summer, the local board decided to break ties with the National Charter Management Organization. It was a really different time. It fell in between summer and school beginning, and so the former secretary allowed us to continue to do business as Arkansas Lighthouse Charter Schools, and we are here today to officially make that change. The enrollment cap piece, we are proposing to incrementally get to our enrollment cap of 1,019 over the course of the next few years. We feel this would be in the best interest of the charter district. We feel like our teachers and our students, as well as our facilities, would appreciate us for doing so. As you know, we have 3 campuses, one of which is on the Little Rock Air Force Base. That space is very small. We're working with the base to get some additional space, but until that time, we want to be responsible in how we are growing. And so that is one of the major reasons that we're requesting that.
Before you, can you back up to that slide? So in the yellow part here, is that where you're, can you talk a little bit about that? Because that was a little confusing to me.
So the yellow, so for 25-26, that is the year that we are hoping that we will have the additional space on the Air Force Base. So that FL mod build, that is when we're anticipating we will either have some additional modulars on the Air Force Base or an actual build out. Why the Air Force Base is the campus that we're focused on is because our 5th through 8th grade population is our fastest growing population, and those grades sit on the Air Force Base. And then, of course, we'll skip this piece, but finally, the salary schedule. I submitted some additional information there. I know this is very confusing, what is up here, but recently our board approved just this past week the new teacher salary schedule that we're proposing in order to meet the Arkansas Learns Act. And that is all.
And so that's also the reason to request the rescission of the waiver of salary schedule?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Wright McMurray, do you want to start?
I don't have any additional questions.
Okay. Ms. Saraceni?
It's very clear, thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
I have a question, but it's not really on what y'all are asking for us to do, because I'm just intrigued about the 12-month schedule.
Yes.
Is there another school in Arkansas doing that?
Oh, yes.
I
There
do
is?
believe so.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think it's really a good idea. Help me understand the process that you went through to do that, and don't be lengthy, because I really love the idea. I'm just curious.
So we've kind of been playing with this idea for some time, trying to understand how to assist our scholars in the summer to prevent that summer slide and different things that happen to our scholars. This became very apparent during the pandemic, of course. And so we have been working with our school leaders as well as our staff members, but also our community at large to try to figure out how we answer this question. One of the things that became very apparent over the past year is teacher burnout for us. And what we are looking at doing is really focusing on the teacher's mental health as well as the scholars' mental health. So you will see in the proposed schedule that I have before you, there are times throughout the school year where we have built in breaks to answer those pieces as well.
Well, my compliments to you all. I think
Thank
it's
you.
really
Thank
smart.
you.
Ms. Newton, do you have any questions?
No, I don't.
All right, well, hearing none. I will just say that I'm excited when I see a very detailed, progressive cap. So I just want to know what to expect, and it makes sense, and I love it when it makes sense. So, I'll accept a motion
So moved.
Second.
to approve.
Approved.
Yes.
I have a motion from Dr. Wright McMurray and a second from Ms. Saraceni to approve the amendment request for Arkansas Lighthouse Charter School, Arkansas Lighthouse Charter Schools Incorporated. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion passes. So, our team will reach out to make sure that we get the proper LEA change request to get that into the system.
And I just want to say thank you all for hearing us. I'm hopeful that we won't see, I love seeing you all, but I'm hopeful that we won't see you all for a while. It feels like we've been up here every year, so thank you.
Come as often as you need to make it the best for students. So,
Thank you.
all right. If we'll take a moment to fill out your voting sheets. Dr. Wright McMurray?
I said I support the amendment request. The changes will allow the district to be more responsive to student needs and meet the expectations of the LEARNS Act.
Ms. Saraceni?
I support the amendment request.
Okay. Mr. Baldwin?
Yes, I support the amendment request. Very good presentation and thoughtful changes for students.
Ms. Newton?
I support the request also.
All right. Ms. Summons, before we end our meeting, you said that we may need to reschedule our May meeting. So, can we take a moment and look at our calendars very quickly? It's currently scheduled for May 16th, and I believe 2 of our members will be out of town. Will y'all be back on Friday? What time Friday are you available?
I'm free all afternoon.
All afternoon? Mr. Baldwin?
I'm good in the afternoon also.
Okay. Dan,
What's the date now?
May 19th, would you be available that afternoon, Friday afternoon?
Yeah, Friday afternoon maybe. We've got a site visit for that, that date. So I anticipate we'll be finished by Friday afternoon, but I'm
Okay.
not completely sure.
Dan, is the room available on May 19th?
Yes, ma'am, I just checked. Got something in here on Thursday, but you're good for Friday.
Ms. Wagner, are you available on the 19th? Charter office? Everybody good? Could we start at noon?
Sure.
Noon it is. Noon on Friday, and if we'll let the communications team know as well. All right. Any other, Luann, y'all good with that too? Okay. Okay. I'm expecting several more charters to submit amendment requests to rescind that salary schedule, so we need to get that done in a timely manner so it can get on the state board agenda. All right, any other business before this panel? Miranda, thank you for being here today. I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. A motion from Ms. Saraceni, a second from Mr. Baldwin to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Dory, are you gonna send an invite so it's on our calendar? Gotcha. Because sometimes when I do it, then it